Don Rainwater, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. It's absolutely my pleasure. I've been looking forward to it. You and I met at an event last year.
In Ohio.
In Ohio. Your memory is excellent, by the way. You don't have any Joe Biden overlap. I can see that.
I do not.
You're a relatively young man. Don, let me start out.
Relative to Mr. Biden.
Relative. Well, of course, we all.
Most are. Yeah.
We most are. He's actually closer to my mother's age than to my age, which I find funny because I've got a full head of gray hair. You don't have any hair on top of your head at all.
No, but I do have a full face.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you, I think everyone is dying for the answer to this question. This is the only reason anyone's watching this video. I asked you this question in Ohio, and I'll ask again. I'll probably ask by the end of the video, and I'll ask again tomorrow or next week.
Sure.
Would you consider accepting our party's nomination for vice president?
Absolutely not.
Was that a yes?
That is not.
It sounded
that is
was that a yes?
That is an absolute no.
That was an absolute no.
I'm running for governor of the state of Indiana.
Which is a great thing to do.
And I believe that there is a lot of work to do in the states. One of the things that I tell people all the time is I believe that the U.S. Constitution was designed to be a fence around the federal government.
Well said.
It's designed to keep the federal government in, but that fence is made up of 50 slabs, 50 states, if you will.
I love that.
The problem with our federal government today is the states fell down.
Yeah.
And when the states fell down, the federal government has decided it's just going to wander wherever it wants to because there's nothing stopping it, nothing holding it in the limitations that the Constitution created. And so we need to fix the states before we focus, in my opinion.
I get that.
Before we focus on the federal
government. Were you
government.
elected governor, you believe you'd be able to make a contribution toward achieving that?
Well, I believe that the first thing that I would do in relation to the federal government is I would uphold the 9th and 10th Amendments of the Constitution.
Yep.
When I ran for governor in 2020, I made the statement during one of the debates that I believe that the governor's job is to grab the 9th Amendment with one hand, the 10th Amendment with the other, and tell the federal government to back off.
I love that.
I think one of the major problems that we have, not just in Indiana, but across the country, is the fact that as states, instead of being autonomous and being the United States of America, we've become 50 Oliver Twists with our little bowl going to the federal government. Whoa, please.
Begging for whatever crumbs.
Give me some more. And the reality is that we know that all that money, first of all, comes with strings.
Yeah.
You know, we'll give you this federal, and that's obviously the most important part, is that that's tax dollars that were taken from people. I abhor the income tax.
Right.
I believe that it's not just ethically but morally wrong.
I agree with you. I know you talk a lot about taxes. You even have a problem with the state income tax.
Oh, I have any income tax.
Yeah.
I believe we need to abolish the state income tax. I started talking about that 4 years ago in 2020.
Yeah.
Because here again, I don't think, James Madison talked about the fact that one of the foundations of liberty, of freedom, is property ownership.
Yeah.
Well, the earnings from your labor is your property.
Absolutely.
And the idea that the government can get it by law before you ever touch it,
by the way,
is
as an intermediary between you and your employer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they put the employer as the intermediary between you and them.
Right.
And
they're pound of flesh.
That's right. And one of the things that I look at, and we have a huge problem in Indiana today, is with this concept of corporatism. We talk a lot about we don't want socialism.
Right.
We don't want communism.
Right.
But we don't talk about that third ism that is just as oppressive And in our society, more oppressive because it's hidden in the darkness, and that's corporatism.
Mm-hmm.
And the
What do you
idea,
mean by that? Yeah.
well, it's the idea that government is controlled by a group of small entities. And we can really make a case for the fact that, one of the reasons we have an income tax is because corporations have agreed to collect it for the government.
Absolutely.
And there is
They just roll over.
there's a marriage, well, I think there's a marriage there.
Yeah. Right.
I think that the government, here in Indiana, we have they say it's a quasi-government agency. It's all government.
They all are, all the classes.
It's called the Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they are made up of the governor, the Secretary of Commerce, and then a group of corporate CEOs
Mm-hmm.
and influential corporate individuals who their basic responsibility is to go out and court new corporations to come to Indiana.
Yes. And
From
how
out of state.
what do they offer them?
Well, they offer them all sorts of wonderful things. Let me give you an example that just recently occurred that I find unconscionable, and I'll explain why. Meta, the parent company for Facebook, recently agreed to come to Jeffersonville, Indiana, down by the Ohio River, and build an $800 million data center. Now, being an IT person for the last 25 years,
Long time.
I understand what a data center is. I understand how crucial it is, and what a great
And how much we appreciate it being on American ground.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But there's a problem here because this $800 million data center is coming to Jeffersonville, Indiana, because the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, supposedly a quasi-government agency,
Doing the bidding of the government.
gave them a 35-year sales and use tax exemption
Yeah.
on not only their equipment for the data center that they're going to buy over the next 35 years,
Right.
but also the electric bill.
Nice.
We have 6.9 million Hoosiers.
Huge energy drink.
Absolutely.
Data center.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And we have all these Hoosiers who have to pay
For that
a sales tax. Well, they pay a sales tax on their electricity.
Yeah.
But we're going to let an out-of-state corporation come in, build a data center,
Yeah.
and get a 35-year, it could be as much as a 50-year.
It's good to be last in.
Well,
Last in business.
it's good to be a corporation in Indiana and not an individual citizen.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that is, unfortunately, about the same time this broke, and that there was a story that broke. The state of Indiana discovered that their Medicaid budget had a $1 billion shortfall. And because of that $1 billion shortfall, they are planning on potentially canceling a program where they were paying Hoosier citizens that needed to stay home from work and care for a medically
Dire situation.
whether it be a child or a parent or a spouse.
Yep.
Those folks were going to get $2,000 a month. Many of them, that does not make up for the income they're losing
No,
to
I
stay
get
at
it.
home and take care of a child. But they're going to cancel that program. They're talking about canceling that program to save this $1 billion that they didn't account for.
Sure.
However, they did give in the state budget the Indiana Economic Development
The tax
Corporation.
breaks.
No, they gave them $1 billion of budget.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's
So
convenient.
we don't have $1 billion to take care of our citizens and the promise our government made to those citizens. But we have $1 billion to fund this
Make new promises.
quasi
New promises.
to corporations.
Yes, I get
And
that.
that's corporatism.
That is
When you
corporatism.
put
of its finest.
these public entities
Yep,
above
yes.
the citizens of your state,
That's an ethical problem.
it's a moral problem.
That's an ethical and moral problem. I agree with you. Now, speaking of organizations that do the government's bidding, I have heard, tell me if this is true or false, I have heard that you have a problem with the monopolies that our states give to local public school systems, that you believe in school choice.
Oh,
Is that true?
I believe in what I call real universal school choice.
Tell me what the real part, what makes it real?
So when you
It sounds like you're trying to take a big bite of this apple.
well, when you
What's it look like?
when you hear the Republican Party
Mhm.
talk about universal school choice, what they're really talking about is people being able to send their child to any state accredited school.
That's right, as long as the state approves.
That's right.
And the state can disapprove when it gets into the mood.
And here again, that's not freedom. That's not liberty.
It's a little freedom, Don.
Well, no,
It's
there
a
is
little freedom.
See, I don't believe there's any such thing as a little freedom or a little liberty.
Fine.
I believe that a parent should be able to send their child to any school
Yep.
that the parent, including homeschooling.
Including homeschooling.
Now, here's one of the things that when I
love
ran in 2020, really kind of threw me off.
Mm-hmm.
In Indiana, homeschool parents will loudly push back if you suggest that they should be allowed to have the money allocated for their child because
Interesting.
they know
What comes with it?
strings, right?
They know damn
Government
well.
strings.
We'd rather do it on our own dime if we can do it our own way.
Absolutely.
Yep. I
Absolutely.
get
Now, here's the thing.
God bless.
I share their desire to not have government
Right.
interfere in their household.
Yep.
I champion that
Yep.
as a candidate for governor.
Yep.
But I find it troubling that they should have to push back. We, as a society,
Yeah. What does that say about the government's intervention? In
well,
education,
here
right?
again, you know,
Here's money that people don't want. That's
That's
a
right.
profound statement.
that's right.
That is a
And
profound
that's
statement.
money that they paid in. See, that here again, that goes back to that's their money.
Absolutely.
That's their tax
People who
dollars.
pay private school tuition are paying twice.
That's
They
right.
pay the taxes and then they pay for the
That's
private
right.
schools.
And, you know, in Indiana, the function of paying for common schools is written into the state's constitution. So it would take a Herculean effort to repeal that.
Yes.
So, even though on the surface it sounds contrary to the libertarian thought, the reality is if we know that the government is going to take tax dollars
Yeah.
to pay for schooling,
Right. At least in the short
the
run.
libertarian short-term solution is to say, fine, if you're going to give people the ability to take, whether you call it a voucher
Yeah.
or whatever,
Right.
a savings account or,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, then that money belongs to that household, that family, not to the government.
Right. And create
No
a level
strings
playing field for
attached.
competition.
And here again, however the parents want, whether it's in a state accredited school
Or not.
or not.
Yep.
And
I
that
love
is
that.
real universal school
I love
choice.
it. Now that makes sense. Now let me ask you something. How do you feel about the theory that if we created a level playing field, as you have described, through real universal access, do you believe that over time, the public schools run the risk of being worked out of the market, that they wouldn't compete, that the private sector would run off?
Sears is gone.
Yes, it is.
Kmart is gone.
Oh, by the way, for those of you at home, Sears and Kmart were big box department stores at which your parents used to shop. Okay.
Blockbuster is gone.
Oh, no, do I need to explain that?
No, I think those people probably know what Blockbuster is.
It's more recent.
But you know, the philosophy that innovate or die,
Yeah.
that is a free market truism. That is one of the foundations.
So I think what you're saying is that the world would be okay without Sears, Kmart, Blockbuster, and public schools?
Well, the thing is if Sears, Kmart, each one of those, Sears, Kmart, and Blockbuster, became global brands.
Yes, they did.
Because they innovated. But they got lazy, complacent,
right,
and they failed to continue to innovate.
At least Blockbuster was successful, that's right.
Blockbuster was killed by Netflix.
Right.
Sears and Kmart by Amazon.
And
Walmart.
Someday they may be killed off.
That's right. Because if you fail to continue to innovate, then the market leaves you behind.
Yep.
And the reality is if we created a free market education system,
Yep.
an opportunity, because one of the things I believe, Mike, wholeheartedly, is that every child is unique. There is no one-size-fits-all education system that fits any child.
Yep.
So what we've done is we've created this government system that is constantly trying to be a one-size-fits-all for all children.
It's a bad
and it doesn't work.
Bad structure.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And in a free market situation, it would die.
Yeah,
now,
it would. And I predicted it will over time. I predicted it will. And at some point, not only do I think that public schools will go by the wayside, but I'm guessing that and hoping that public's financing of schools eventually goes by the wayside.
Well, and I do as well, because here again, I tell people all the time, the only thing that the government, especially in my opinion, local and state government, the only thing they really do well is screw stuff up.
They do that well. Well put.
I think we have to get to the place, but see, the only thing government does really well is create dependency.
It undermines our culture, not just our economy.
Well, it creates our culture.
Yeah.
We live in a world today where it's too expensive to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Because government has intervened.
Absolutely. That's what
and people don't realize
and
that.
then they create the dependency off of your inability to make ends meet.
Well, when
vicious cycle.
When health insurance becomes so prohibitively expensive
that you're asking for more government intervention, now you know there's a problem.
Yeah, because that's the idea, right? Make it so expensive that the single payer option is the only
power to provide the solution.
That's right.
Don, it's good to hear you talk about some of the cultural issues as well. Speaking of which, are you in Indiana? Are you from Indiana?
I am.
Indiana.
I was born. I'm a Hoosier.
You're a Hoosier.
I was born and raised here.
I spent some years, ages 2 to 7. I was in Indiana. My parents met at Indiana University, so
absolutely.
I'm part of
Bloomington.
I'm part of Bloomington,
right.
the most beautiful campus on this planet, and probably in any planet.
Although Purdue graduates might disagree with you, but I agree with you 100%.
Purdue was the only school my parents wouldn't let me go to. And that was tough because I was an engineering major. But as a couple of IU grads, they weren't having it. Right?
That's right.
They weren't having it. But you grew up in Indiana, is that true?
I did.
High school?
Yes.
What town?
I went to high school on the east side of Indianapolis, Warren Central High School.
Awesome.
Graduated 1981. That was a couple of years ago.
I remember 1981. Yeah. Just a few years younger than I am.
Yes,
I get that.
graduated high school.
Did you guys take a haircut in high Catholic school? Did you do that?
No, I did not. No. My parents let me grow it out a little bit in high school, but not much.
It was the 70s after all. So.
Yes, but my hair was probably about the length of yours during the 70s.
Well, in the 70s, mine was actually the length that is my daughter's now.
There you go.
You know, things do change.
Absolutely.
So you're running for governor. You had wild success the first time around.
Well, I wouldn't say wild success. Wild success.
Well, you're not
you would be
wild.
calling me the incumbent.
True. You had a great deal of success.
We achieved
Disruption of the
mild
system.
gains.
Okay. You successfully disrupted the duopoly's ability to disregard us, and I applaud you for that. But that is a huge objective and job well done. Do you anticipate being able to upend the apple cart once again?
Well, I believe that the opportunity presents itself,
Mm-hmm.
and if we aggressively pursue the opportunity, I think that the dividends will pay themselves.
It's so marvelously put.
I think we have, I do believe that the pandemic opened a lot of people's eyes
I think so too.
to some truths that they just really hadn't. You know, sometimes you just have to get smacked across the face
Sometimes you
to
do.
realize
Each
that,
one of us has been smacked across the face at one point in our
Right.
lifetime.
and I think that voters are starting to realize
Yeah.
that
That the government
I
is
quoted
not an organization
Reagan
you
in
can trust.
2020 and said, in this present crisis, government is not the solution to the problem, government is the problem.
Yeah.
And what I've said for the 4 years since is we may not be in the same crisis, but there's always a crisis, and it's always what Reagan said, whether you like Reagan or dislike Reagan, what he said was true.
He had some good instincts.
In every crisis, government created this problem, and they cannot solve it. We have to solve it by getting government out of it.
Well said, but they will try to leverage it to convince you that there's a solution.
Absolutely.
Won't they?
Well, you know, never let a good crisis go to waste.
This is spoken like a good bureaucrat. How can people help your campaign? Tell us website. Tell us
The
how
website,
people reach out to you.
Absolutely.
What do you want? What do you need?
the website is rainwaterforindiana.com.
Is that the numeral 4 or FOR?
Either one.
Either one.
Either one.
You really have it together. don't
Well,
you?
I don't know whether I have it together or I just figured out
Okay,
that
Rainwater
for Indiana.com.
Indiana.com.
And
Okay.
then there's a donate button up there.
And
Obviously,
is it okay if people hit that button?
I would be very happy if they did.
We'll test it out.
And
See
here,
what
let me
happens.
tell you why I would be very appreciative. And let me real quickly just say, if clicking on the donate button and donating online is not your style,
Yeah.
you can also send a check made out to Rainwater for Indiana. That's just FOR,
FOR.
Indiana.
I'm sure that they will take it if the numeral 4 is up.
Absolutely, probably they would.
Yeah.
And that goes to P.O. Box 451,
P.O. Box 451.
Nineveh, Nineveh,
Nineveh.
Nineveh,
People in
Indiana,
No, Nineveh. Okay, Indiana.
46164. But see, we'll take money from,
46164.
yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll take money from people in 49 other states. We'll take money from people who maybe live in another country.
So if people just believe in freedom and people just believe in liberty and they just don't like public schools, they can send you money even if they live in Illinois.
Absolutely. Here, you know what? Here's the reality. In 2020, we got a little over 345,000 votes. That was 11.4%.
Yep.
Now, I unfortunately spent most of my education in public schools, but
Most of us
they
did.
did teach me that math would say that based on the fact that we raised about 450,000
Mm-hmm.
and we got 345, it figured out to like $1.18 a vote.
I get it, yeah.
So we need probably about maybe 1.4 million votes to win this election.
Okay, I get it. That
So
sounds doable.
if we were able
That sounds doable.
yeah, I believe it is doable.
Yeah.
If we were able to raise $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
we could get that 1.4 million votes and win as a libertarian in Indiana.
Now that's very exciting. Well, let me interrupt you just 1 second. My recollection is that you were polling at one point even significantly higher than the
24%.
You were up to
But
24%.
that was kind of in a central Indiana, and I'll tell you a little bit about that.
I get it. My point being that it is realistic that you could reach enough, a high enough proportion of voters in some sense, and that the second time around, with experience, the experience that you've already demonstrated, your ability to disrupt the duopoly, with more money, right? And with the environment that we're in now, it seems to me that people would hang on to you even more than last time. In other words, as you and I know, there's a certain proportion of people who they'll support you, they like your idea, he's terrific, but at the last minute, can I vote for him because I'm not sure he'll win? It seems to me that's a different look this cycle, that more people will hang on and say, yeah, that Don Rainwater guy could win it this time.
Well, and there's a couple of additional elements that I think that
Let's hear it.
the folks that are watching this might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, right now we have 6 Republicans vying for the primary nomination.
Yep, got it.
Many of the folks who either voted for me in 2020 or who contacted me after the election and said, I didn't hear about you until I'd already cast my vote. I wish I could get my vote back and vote for you because I watched the debates.
But it was after the early voting.
It was after early voting started.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Tactically,
But see, the value of running twice.
right.
This is the value of
Well,
running
and
twice.
here again, we got second place votes in 33 out of 92 Indiana counties.
Say that again?
We got second place votes in 33, so we beat the Democrat in 33 out of 92 counties. That's
Wow.
a third.
That's a statement.
And the reality is that those counties were counties where our message was able to get out.
Yes.
So I believe that if we have the funds, and whether we like it as libertarians or not,
Money matters.
we libertarians hear all the time libertarians can't win. I'm going to tell you that I am just crazy enough to believe libertarians can win. We just don't raise money very well. And if we learn how to raise money, we can start winning.
Look out.
Because I think we have the right message. We present it properly, but people aren't hearing it because we're not getting it out to them.
Yeah.
If I tell you, then you're going to vote for me.
Yeah.
But nobody in any of these other
media is
groups,
not on
they
your
can't
side.
hear. Well, even if they are, there's a limited amount.
Sure. It pays attention.
We're getting a tremendous amount of earned media very early in this election cycle that we did
Again, the
not
value
get.
of running twice.
Exactly.
You're a known commodity.
And here again, the value of getting 11.4%,
First time.
which was unheard of previously.
That's right.
So they're talking about us. They're inviting us to candidate forums that they have for the Republicans,
Sure.
for the Democrat.
Sure.
But here again, if and I've had people say, well, you just got to get out there and knock on doors. You can't knock
You
on
can't knock
every
on
voter's door
No.
in the state of Indiana. I'm 60 years old.
You need to work with the media.
That's right.
You are very, very
Well,
good at it.
and you will get more earned media if you spend money with them.
There is a pay-to-play aspect
That's
that they
right.
would not admit to, but it's absolutely true.
Absolutely. And here again, whether we like the game or not, if we believe as a party that our job is to win elections, then we sat down at the table where the game board is. We have to play the game at the table. We can't say, well, you guys are playing chess. I don't want to play chess. I want to play cribbage.
It's
Well,
not
then go to a different table. But no, I want to play at this table and I want to win
I
this.
agree wholeheartedly, and I love that metaphor.
We have a tendency as libertarians to say, but see, we're better than you guys. We want to play a better game. And they go, yes, but we control the table, we control the board.
And if you don't participate in the game, you don't get the power, and you don't
That's
get to
right.
change the game.
That's right.
That's
That's
the
the reality. If you want to change the game at the table,
You gotta start
have to
winning.
sit at the table, you have to learn the game, you have to play it honestly,
But you have to play it well.
but you have to play the game. And that is something that I believe, and I've been preaching this for about 4 years now,
Yeah.
because having run for governor, I feel like I learned a lot.
You did learn a lot. And Don, I got to be honest with you. You were an excellent candidate then.
Well, thank you.
You're going to be an excellent candidate this time. And we are all behind you. I'm
Well,
very
thank you very
excited. And I
much.
think that everyone watching this video should be excited. If folks at home haven't met Don Rainwater already, put your seatbelt on because this is going to be quite a ride. Don,
Thank you
thanks
so
a lot.
much.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.